Hey guys, welcome back. Holy cow, it's been a long time since I've done anything with video. I even forgot my tripod, so we'll see how this works. Anyhow, updates on the farm. We have a new shop now. It is 10,000 square feet and it is very, very handy. It's gonna sound weird. I got burnt out for doing videos. You guys are going to be like, burn out? Ben, you only did like 2 videos in your life. Well, no. We have another channel called Ultimate Survival Tips. And I have done well over, I would say close to 1,000 videos over there. Not just for Ultimate Survival Tips. We did every single one of Charade, Smith & Wesson, Old Timer, knife videos, so many videos. I am actually not a farmer by trade. I don't know if I've ever shared that. I grew up on a dairy farm, did that for 18 years through high school, and then when I got married, I was like, boy, $12 an hour isn't gonna cut it. So I started working for my dad. I started doing construction, and then working for Dad, we did videos for a company called Taylor Brands. Back then, when was this? 2013? I think it was 2013. Yeah, they owned the rights to Charade knives, Smith & Wesson knives, not their guns, and a bunch of other smaller companies, Old Timer, Imperial, a bunch of these knives that were going out of business probably 30 years ago, and they picked up real cheap and then rebuilt the brand. So yeah, I worked for Dad doing that for about 10 years. Up until last year, we did all of Ultimate Survival Tips channel videos, all of Taylor Brands videos, and then some other smaller contract videos as well. So when I say I got burnt out a little bit of videos, I just kind of needed some time off. As a professional videographer and editor, I just got burnt out. Not exactly what I was meant to do with my life, in my opinion. But that being said, I'm very thankful for that time in my life. It taught me a skill. I didn't go to school for it. I didn't do any training for it, really. I taught myself. Dad was like, hey, you think you can do this? I was like, I can try. Okay, well, you make $25 an hour. So this is the first year, 2024 is the first year that I'm like full-time farming. That's not to say we've made any money doing this. We're still living by the good graces of our financial partners, Mad Ag, who specifically works with organic regenerative farms, and they've been very great to work with. We've been using them from the beginning of their inception in 2022. We were one of the first 20 farms that they worked with. I'm not sure how many they have now, and any new products they come out with, we're pretty much the guinea pigs. So we have a mutual friendship with a lot of them over there, and we work really well with them and with Rodale. So yeah, I'm back. I'm gonna try to do a video a week. I'd like to just document this journey and kind of see where it goes. I think it would be really helpful to some people trying to get into farming, especially organic farming. I'm very encouraged with how most of our crops are looking this year. Last year was really discouraging. We had like one really good field of corn, no good fields of soybeans, and 90% of our corn was trash. This year, I would say we have 90% of our corn is really good, 10% looks like trash, and I'll probably go on a crop tour tomorrow and show you guys the trash corn. Don't judge. The one really bad field is actually, come to find out, was a well pad. The landowner said it was a well pad. I'm like, yeah, it's, little driveway or something. Apparently the whole field was a well pad, and when we were tearing it up this year, it's like, oh, there's like driveway stone in here. Like, oh, the whole thing was a well pad. So there's no topsoil there. Almost 100% confidence that we're actually gonna make money this year on soybeans, which would be the first time in since we've been farming we've actually made any money. We've had to claim insurance every year on our soybeans because we haven't figured it out. This year, I mean, I would say 95% of our soybeans are actually decently clean. We're going to get a weed zapper in here, which I'll show you guys in a couple weeks. We're going to have a guy come in and do custom weed zapping to really help finish out the beans with the little bit of competition they do have. We have 20 to 30 acres of soybeans out of the 230 acres we have planted. That is same farm as the really bad corn. The weeds have, I don't know what's going on there. They just kind of took over. And then we probably have 200 acres of soybeans that's like, it would be hard to decipher between that and conventional, just how clean it is. And that, I'll show you this little piece of equipment that we're borrowing and probably buying from our neighbor Zach, who you've seen his dad. He's our one truck driver in the harvest video. So this is what you call a tine weeder. This little guy here, you go in the beans probably 3 to 5 days after you plant, and then once the first trifoliate of leaves is up or grown on the beans, you go through again, and then you can go through again after that if you need to. The goal is to just get all those weeds in your rows and outside the rows, but specifically in the rows, because that's where you can't get with something like that guy cultivator, which this is our other cultivator. This gets in the row, gets all the weeds out that are in row. It doesn't do anything with weeds that are big and up and already, there's nothing you can really do with that. So the goal is to kind of have this on a tractor ready to go as we're planting almost. That's the goal for next year. This year we still didn't have enough tractors to get in the row and, just kind of almost follow the planter with this. And that seemed to work really good. Our cover crop projects are questionable. We grew some really good cover crop this year on some of our test plots. Then I got too ambitious with the VT, vertical tillage tool, and decided to disc it down and roll it before planting. And that was a big mistake. I couldn't get my planter to have enough downforce. It was like lifting the planter up to plant through the mat. So I unfortunately kind of ruined 20 acres of ground that I was really excited for to plant corn into. It had a really good stand of rye, cereal rye. It had a beautiful stand of peas, which I think I have some shots of that. I'll throw that in here too. And the planter couldn't get through it. There was nothing I could really do. I ended up not doing anything with it so far. I'm going to till it up and plant another cover crop in it and do it different this coming year. Planting green, I think, is the key. You really need to plant green and then roll it. And that would be the way to terminate it. Or we got this guy right here, the speed tiller. I may try some speed tilling next spring with this and terminating the cover crop that way. There's some guys that have been using these as their termination method on the cover crops and then planting into that. So the cover crop experiment has not been going to plan. The issue is we can't just plant all 600, 700 of our acres in the cover crops and, risk the farm, basically. We have to do what is sustainable for now, what we know makes money. you know, the proven way to farm around here, I guess. The conventional way to farm would be tillage. We have to be able to do that to make money, to pay for the experiments. And once we have an experiment that works and then is proven to work, we can then start implementing that over all the acres. Our climate is just different. We have a different climate than the Midwest. We have a different climate than, you know, most of these cover crop guys. And so we have to kind of adapt our way of doing things to a different method. Even like Downstate Rodale Institute that we work with, they're literally in a completely different climate zone than us. They are in like the sweet spot. They're almost, I would consider them almost a corn belt type environment down there. They're kind of in like the middle of the mountains of West Virginia and our mountains here. And that makes, like, I would say, like a microclimate, although it's most of southern PA, to where they can do things with cover crops differently than we can do it here. So the goal is to have no tillage. The goal is also not to go bankrupt and to make money and be able to support this venture. So as much as I want to be no-till organic, we haven't figured that out yet. We've still been using this guy here, which is completely destroyed from the last field that we did. Needs welded up, but we used this quite a bit on all of our new sod ground again, which we're hoping the speed tiller is going to take over for the moldboard plow, because the moldboard plow just completely resets everything. It's going to reset your soil structure, your soil microbes, everything in your soil is just reset, which isn't bad for like really bad ground, to just kind of turn it over and start over and never use that again. We have thankfully never had to use that again on anything that we plowed first pass. We've pretty much just disked and planted everything, and that's been pretty successful so far. So we are minimum tillage. I would say we're definitely on the minimum side of things. 90% of our corn acres we went over once with this. On any corn acres that was sod, we hit with a moldboard, but anything that was previously corn or soybeans or cover crop, we just hit with this and planted right after that. So yeah, it's an experiment. There's nothing that we're doing that's a proven way to do it yet, especially in our area. There's some guys that it works really good here and doesn't work here, and there's nobody in my area that's doing that's trying to do minimum till, no till, organic. So I do think cover crops are the way to go, and we have a large contract with the NRCS to actually plant cover crops. So there's two incentives to this. We get paid for it, which helps, especially when they fail, when it's like a failure like this year where I terminated improperly or didn't have the right equipment. That's kind of the update. I can't exactly remember what the last video was about, but I'm pretty sure it was harvest of 23, which was kind of demoralizing. Kind of go back up a little bit. There's so much to kind of catch up on here. This is July 22nd. I'm going to try to say the date every video, because I get really annoyed when guys like the Millennial Farmer or something say nothing about a date. It's like, he's got his corn in the ground already. Oh, that was like 2 weeks ago, probably. It's like, I don't know. For me, I like to know dates. Mike Mitchell up in Canada is really good at that. He always says at least a general date, and kind of gives you a frame of reference of where they're at. And it's just kind of fun, and I don't know, maybe that's a prideful thing, comparing myself to others. But so going back to last year, equipment updates. We've gained quite a lot of equipment since. We've traded a lot of equipment and gained a lot of equipment since the end of 23. I'm pretty sure you guys have seen this tractor, the 8260R, 2013. Has 6,000 hours on it. It was something we could afford and had the horsepower we needed because our dual articulating tractor kicked the can, and we pretty much sold that at cost for, you know, dimes on the dollar what we paid for it, because the engine crapped out. So this replaced that, and this has had zero issues and has been a very good tractor. We got this from our friends down at Land Pro in Watsontown, Pennsylvania. It does have the 480 ADR 46 tires on it, which are a little bit narrower. They're not narrow, they're not skinnies. Like there's some, I can't remember the sizes, but there's some really skinny tires you can get for these, for like vegetables and stuff. This seems to work pretty good for the row crop stuff that we do, getting down the rows. One thing that is very noticeable about this is it actually is spaced correctly. Our case tractor is not. So we got the inners on 60 centers and the outers on 120 or 90. These are on 90s. 120 would be like here. Anyways, and that's got front duals too, which I have the second dual off right now, just in the mud flaps off, because when I'm going down the rows cultivating, I like to have one tire and I like to be able to see my row, which you could not see very well with the mud flaps. Full front rack of weights. Great tractor. I'll probably chip it, get a little more horsepower out of it. Not going to go crazy with the chip because I don't want to blow up the engine or something. I don't know. They're probably pretty safe now, but to pull that, it requires pretty much all this tractor has plus a little bit. So I'd like to chip it a little bit and kind of pull that comfortably instead of at the max range. I'm sure you've already seen the drill. We've had that for at least a year now. This is the new cultivator that we have. I've only used it twice. Today was the second time and it was too wet, so I quit. And this is a single sweep. It uses a single sweep to go down the row. Unlike my other one, which is a 5 tine Danish tine, which can get, so this is going, your crop's going here, and you have about that much on either side of your crop. My Danish tine's probably about here, so your tolerance is a lot closer, which then means you have to be a lot carefuler to not run over to not pretty much dig out 8 rows at a time of crop. But I've gotten pretty good at driving straight, plus we use RTK for planting, which helps a lot, a very lot. This has also got the cutaway discs, which I don't use. I use them on one field and they were just like, I don't know, just another thing to watch, and they don't seem to do a whole lot. This is a Henniker 5000 single sweep cultivator. It's got a lot of adjustments on it, which I don't necessarily like. How these, you got to take every single pin out when you're adjusting it. And there's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. 8 rows you got to take out. So when you're adjusting the depth or whatnot, you got to take every single pin out. One time I forgot, and one of these bolts came out, and the disc, that disc dropped down. I was like, wait, what the world's going on? So it works pretty good, I think. I've only, like I said, only used it once so far. I do like my Danish tine, and I will probably get a new Danish tine this year because mine's about seen the end of its life. Pretty much every day there's a lot of maintenance on it because it's pretty much falling apart, but it does a really nice job. So that's probably going to be a purchase for next year, is a new Danish tine cultivator, until we can sell every piece of tillage equipment because we're no-till cover cropping, but that's going to be a few years. Oh, one thing I was going to say about cover cropping that's really hard is you get one shot at it per year. Like, it's not like, you know, trial and error. It is trial and error. And so it's not like you can just go out and be like, oh, this didn't work, let's try this. It's, oh, this didn't work. We got to wait a whole year now to try it again. Oh, that didn't work. Okay, so now we're 3 years down the road. It's still not working. We know what we did wrong here. Let's try this. Okay, that worked a little bit better. Let's try that and that now. So it just takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time to really dial it in. And that's why I read a ton of books and on all the forums on how to do it correctly so that I can kind of minimize that a little bit at least. So this is the drill. This is a 1590 John Deere drill, 15 foot. I'm actually considering possibly selling this. I have a guy that lives about an hour away that is going to be, he custom drills and is way cheaper than owning this drill and having somebody sit in it and do it behind the combine. So if I could hire him to do it, that's one less person I got to hire and pay to do that, and one less tractor going at harvest time when all of my tractors are pretty much took up anyways. So this is the new combine, as you guys saw in the harvest video and all the breakdowns we had. We got rid of the 9550 side hill combine as quickly as we could this spring. Pretty much as soon as we finished harvest, that thing was on the naughty list going down the road. So this we traded that in on this 660 S660 pretty quickly. It's a really nice machine. It was in a fleet in the Midwest. It's got all the maintenance records and everything. It's got you know, it's a 2013, but it's got like 1,500 separator hours on it. So it was not run hard. It still has to get inspected by John Deere, but I don't think they're going to find too much on it. Just noticed the power switch was on. I think. Oh yeah, off on. You want to make sure you turn them off because there's a lot of different power draws on this that are random. Low hours, lowish hours. I mean, for me, I'm going from an 8,000 hour machine to a 1,500 hour machine with shiny paint on it. So I'm very happy about that. These rear tires are obviously original tires that are getting replaced. Front tires, I got duals sitting behind my truck there. I just haven't put them on yet because I'm going to be doing custom work this fall with this, and I may drive down the road like this. I'm not sure yet. And then put the duals on there. All the belts, everything just looks really well maintained on this. Guess we'll find out once the inspection's complete. But the differences in this combine are pretty much too many to name, and we'll probably go over that more at harvest time. But see if I can get my flashlight to work here. Here we go. So it's a rotor combine. My other one was conventional, so it had basically going the width of the combine this way, had a little tiny rotor in there, and then used just a Walker style threshing system. Right back here, we drop everything down, drop the straw up there, and kind of work it that way, and then kind of re-thresh it. We go back through and re-thresh it. I'm not super familiar with a rotor combine and how it all works. You do still have obviously your fan down there. You got a huge rotor here that goes the whole length of the machine, pretty much. I mean, not the whole length, but quite a bit. Sorry, it's so dark back here. This is like the one place I don't have any lights in the shop. So you got your rotor in there, you got your concaves and whatnot. One thing I noticed when we were looking at this to buy it, there's a lot of room to work on stuff in here. My combine, everything was so smushed together. If something broke, you had to take like 6 other things apart to get to it. I mean, this has got room up the kazoo above the rotor, up in here. It just seems like it's a much better design. Like they actually were like, hey, let's make this a couple feet longer and wider so that we can actually get in this thing and work on it. So you got your hydraulic pump up there. So yeah, this is the new toy. It's got a 300 bushel grain tank, which basically means it's got the same capacity as my grain tank that I had on the 550 when I put the extensions on it. It's got a single point hookup here, which I'm gonna have to convert my corn head for. It's got HID lights all around it, movable. It's got a movable mirrors, electronic mirrors, heated, whatnot. Oh, it's got a refrigerator too. That's cool. Anyways, this is the newest purchase. This just showed up like 2 weeks ago. Yeah, maybe a month ago now. So it showed up right at the end of planting season. Speed tiller, already talked about that a little bit. We'll talk about this for a second. It's Case 475 speed tiller. It's made by K-Line. It is the same exact tiller as the K-Line. It's just Case C&H bought K-Line back in 2016 or 2018. And since then, they have a speed tiller. K-Line makes the absolute best speed tiller in my opinion. The Degelmans are pretty close. Wouldn't mind trying a Degelman sometime. See what the differences are. I do like this. It's super heavy. It does a really nice job of penetration. Does a really nice job of primary tillage and also secondary tillage. That's one reason why we got this, was to replace the moldboard plow. We'll see how that does. We got about 30 acres of hay we're going to do, and then follow that with this and plant that into the cover crop. So, I mean, you can see how big these disc blades are, notched. They're massive. To do finishing work, you can put down pressure on that basket there and really make a nice smooth finish. I wouldn't say it's as smooth as our Landau VT. That made like glass smooth. This makes like, it makes like disc smooth, good enough for what we're doing now. And you could probably run a secondary rolling basket behind it to really get that smooth finish. But it's for what we're doing, it's really okay as far as the finish goes. I just like that we can use one tool for pretty much two tasks, primary and secondary tillage. I really like that it doesn't get stuck. That was one big issue that we had with the VT, and one reason why we sent it down the road. I couldn't pull it through a wet hole. Like, obviously you're not going to go through standing water wet hole. I couldn't pull it through anything that was not dry. Like, if there's a little water, you literally it would sink down. You put the wheels down a little bit. You kind of try to balance the wheels and the disc, because once you put the wheels down, the wheels just sunk right down. Like, there was no, I had to leave it in the field a few times and come back later and pull it out with 2 tractors. This, if you start getting stuck with it, you can fold it up like this in the field, and all the weight then transfers to this toolbar and onto your tractor. So it puts all the weight onto your rear tires and takes bulk of the weight off of your big floating tires. And I have not gotten anywhere where I was like, wow, I'm not getting out. You get to where you're kind of pulling like a pile or something and start getting a little bit stuck. Lift that up, pull it right out, you back up, drop it back down, and keep going. Like, it's pretty sweet, and it floats really nice. over wet holes. Like I would say you could probably plow or disc in pretty wet conditions. By the time we got it this year, it was pretty dry already, so I didn't really want to try that or have the desire to really try to run it in wet. One of the issues is my tires are pretty skinny on my pulling tractor right now. I do plan on getting another big tractor this fall with floater tires on it that would then pull this. But as of right now, my tires are pretty skinny, so they'd start digging in pretty quick in the mud. They're not floaters whatsoever. There's the other duals for the combine. Along with all the spring wheat we never got planted. What else? We get a brush hog, but that thing's a piece of junk. Old, restored one. If anybody knows how to get out of a Kubota lease, let me know, because that thing's about useless. As I've probably talked about before, it's too small for any tillage work, and the wheels don't move, so it can't get in between the rows, so it's useless for row crop stuff. We were told that when we bought it from the dealer, like, oh yeah, it's a row crop tractor, it'll be just fine. Come to find out, the wheels don't. There's no way to space them one way or the other where they wouldn't be running over crops. So that's been an area of massive contention in our farming operation, unfortunately. It's leased, so we can't just sell it. It's kind of a pain in the butt. Just talked to the guys over there at Kubota Credit, and they're like, oh yeah, you can get out of it. You just got to pay the whole rest of the lease. And I was like, I just wanted to get like an M7 or something that's a actual row crop tractor. And like, no, you can't upgrade tractors. You got to pay. I think you said, yeah, you got to pay the remainder of the lease, and then you can get out. And then, yeah, which would be 30 payments, $30,000. So that's not going to happen anytime soon. I'll see if any of my Kubota dealers can do anything with that, because I feel like Kubota Credit was kind of blowing smoke there. I don't know. Like, if I was a dealer or like a tractor manufacturer, and somebody said after 3 years, we've had this for 3 years, made every payment on time on it, hey, I want a bigger tractor. I'm going to pay you more money to get a bigger tractor that's going to work better for my operation. Can I trade leases? Or better yet, can I, pay you a little bit of money to get out of this lease and then buy a tractor from you? I'd be like, sure, why not? No big deal. I'm making a ton of money on that because I'm going to turn around and sell it for way more than it's probably worth, just leasing it. And then I get to give you a tractor you're going to pay me for. But yeah, they weren't having that. So that's kind of an annoyance. It's been a great tractor, but it sure is kind of a thorn in my side at this point. It's too small for anything useful pulling wise, and yeah, it's not a row crop tractor, which we were told it was. Anyhow, here's the new planter. Just got this last week. Not new, obviously, but we traded our case planter in for this. And what the plan is this winter we're going to put a puck kit on it, precision upgrade kit. We're going to run it through the NRCS tax credit and get a bunch of tax credit on our taxes for putting a precision upgrade no-till system on this. It was a cheap planter. It was like $30,000, and it's going to mesh really well with our green color, but it also folds. That was the big thing about this. It folds. Our case planter did not fold, so it was 22 feet going down the road, and we farm a lot on highways, not highways, but like 2-lane highways. So it was always just a stressful time of year, mainly because my planter didn't fold. It is a much heavier duty planter. I mean, that thing is twice as thick as my case planter, which I really liked my case planter. It would plant like crazy. I I do like the John Deere system. I like just being able to pull this back to do tension on your closing wheels. I like all this, which all this is gonna, what the puck kit does, it basically costs a little bit more than the planter itself, but it's gonna pretty much take everything from your parallel arms back, all new, precision. You're gonna get a new monitor with it. And you basically, I think you even get a new serial number. So the whole planter, other than the fertilizer, which is just fine, is going to be a brand new planter for literally a fraction of the cost of a new planter. Like a new 8-row planter, I believe they quoted me for like a basic stack fold 8-row planter. 187,000 or something like that. Ridiculous. You use it for a couple weeks of the year and then it sits. So I bought this for, well, I traded mine in, so I spent 11,000 on this, and the puck kit's like 40. So, and this was listed for about 40. Overall, everything's tight on it. You could go plant with this now. It's just, I want the 3 bushel boxes too. That's a big thing, but it folds, has marker arms. I've never had marker arms before. I've always just planted with GPS, and if the GPS didn't work well like this year, then you're just kind of up the creek. So really excited about this project for this winter. I'm also going to be doing the puck install probably myself, because I like to do things like that. And what else am I going to do during the winter? So yeah. Well, it doesn't really matter, but this is a ground drive unit too, and you can shut off half the planter because you got 2 drives. Basically the way the John Deere system works is this hits the tire and goes. Mine was hydraulic, but this is gonna, I think this all comes off anyways with the puck because it's gonna be an electric drive system. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for new equipment. Planter, cultivator, tractor, combine, tiller, drill. Got a couple things up there which you've probably already seen. Alright guys, well, for the 2 of you watching, I appreciate you coming back, and I'm going to try to be way more regular with uploads and updates, and kind of keep everything flowing here. Get kind of into the old flow state of YouTube as the season goes on and things are progressing. So thanks for watching, and take it easy. Get a drink of water. Keep yourself hydrated, rested. I think that's it. Talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.